So hi, everybody. This is John Wolpert. We're here. This is the October 26th Baseline Protocol Steering Committee meeting. There's already a big crowd on the call, so we'll get right to it. As everybody knows, I think, or many people know, we've been working hard every morning at 10 a.m. Some intrepid folks get on the call and get planning the steering committee or the Baseline Protocol Summit for November. This meeting will be largely about that, although I did see in the in the repo that Bill Gleim requested some time to review some stuff around zero knowledge. So if he comes, I don't see him here yet, but when he's here, we will do that as well. Are there any other agenda items other than planning for the big summit? I'm just going to let that simmer there for a second. Already 30 people on the call. Nothing? No? Zero? Zilch? Hey, Stephen, it's good to see you there. Right. So the big, well, let's make sure everybody knows that we did have the technical steering committee vote last month. And I think we discussed it on the last call, but just in case anyone didn't know, we have a technical steering committee for the new year. I think one of the things that we will want to discuss is improvements and amendments to the Constitution or to the charter to permit things like what if some, we don't really have any rules right now about somebody dropping out of a TSC and how we would do a new vote for that. If we want to go more, if we want to have sort of staggered elections, there's been a variety of questions about that. I don't think we want to bring it up today, but I just wanted to mention that we will maybe do a little working group on that subject if anybody is interested in that topic. But barring that, we'll go through the first thing that we always do, maintainers who we got on the call. Sam Stokes. Sam, are there any issues for the maintainers that the technical steering committee members on this call need to address? Any new maintainers elections? Just to maintainers make those decisions themselves, but you can report out here so people know who are new maintainers. And if there are any disputes or any things where we have to weigh in on like a split vote.
Yeah, we have one vote underway right now, so it hasn't completed yet. So no disputes that we need to resolve quite yet, but can let you know the results of that, I guess, at the next meeting.
All right, sounds good. I think we will have a pretty significant inbound on maintainers going forward. I know of at least 4. Okay, so that's good. All right, well, then without further ado, we will go into the question of how we're doing this summit. Nick Kritikos, are you out there?
I am here.
Nick, would you like to take us through the overview? You've done so much work on this, and everybody really should give a golf clap for Nick. He stepped in and started organizing stuff, and I don't think we would be halfway towards where we are if he hadn't just stepped up and provided the willpower.
Thanks, John. So as you know, we're working on putting together kind of a summit for the Baseline Protocol. I was trying to struggle with what do we call it, asynchronous or kind of an unconference or kind of a decentralized conference. We've been working with the planning team. We've been meeting every morning at 7 a.m. my time for about the last couple of weeks. And we've got a short list of topics that we'd like to get your feedback on in terms of prioritization and an attempt to understand kind of critical mass. The idea with the critical mass is that it will help us with scheduling the times so that they can be scheduled at a time when the people that are most interested can make those times as opposed to the middle of the night or some other inconvenient time. So John has graciously taken the topics that we came up with and through input from many of you on the call and put it into a form. And what we'd like to ask everyone on the call to do today is to go through the topics and just kind of rank them as to what you feel is most important through least important. The audience for this is the Baseline community, predominantly technical folks, although you will see that there are a couple topics that, that lend themselves more to discussion as opposed to actual work. Our goal with the summit is to really move the Baseline protocol forward in a significant fashion and to identify new opportunities or opportunities for us to get projects into the hackathon in December. So, John, did you want to share the link to the forum?
Yes, I'm going to show that right now. I think it's actually up on your screen.
Yeah, well,
right?
you see the form. Yeah, but for people to fill it out.
Yeah, so I'll once we've covered all the topics, I'll put in chat the link to the form.
Okay.
And we'll do it from there. So there's more than 7 topics that have been vetted, and but we want to kind of keep it to 7 tracks. Nick, you want to go through the what the tracks and I think I see Jimmy asked, who's the intended audience? Architects, engineers, really our community. But hopefully this will expand the community. People will get excited and get focused. I mean, the whole point of this summit is to focus attention into a particular into a day or 2 period of time, and to get work done. So these will be thanks to the efforts of the Oasis team, and in particular Jane Harnad, who did yeoman's work to set up a not free system using basically an overlay on Zoom that Nick will take us through. That system will allow us to all be together, but we can drop in, we can drop out. We're hoping that different sessions will kind of accumulate into different time frames. So everybody that says I intend to do a session, they're then going to be asked when would they like to do that session, and we're going to hope that lots of people kind of glom up on a particular set of time frames, but between the start and the end of this summit. So it's not a webinar, it's a summit. And you can be in a 2-person breakout room working on a problem, and then that will all get packaged up into at the end of the set. Everything will be recorded. Everything will have docs, and there's a mural-like drawing system, so we can really come out of this with good architecture plans, really good road mapping, a reboot of the repo roadmap, and we should be setting ourselves up for kind of hitting that next booster rocket from where we are today. That was a heck of a booster rocket going from where we were in March to where we are now. And now that's kind of hitting the limits, and we're starting to, now we have to charge up that next booster rocket and shoot it to the next orbit. So that's where we are now. And the summit and the subsequent hackathon that we will be doing, that is definitely not free, but has been funded, will occur in December. So why is this summit important for everybody? Because you or people could win real money by earning bounties based on the output of this summit, which will become largely the tracks for the challenges for the hackathon, which will be funded hackathon. So people will get bounties and prizes, or that'll all be done through GitHub or Gitcoin. So real stakes in the game here. As you can see, and I'm going to go through the repo and what I did with the repo. So if anybody is in the Zen Hub for the baseline repo, then you'll see, or the baseline roadmap repo, you'll see 2 new pipelines. One is called Summit and one is called Hackathon. And that was just to keep things clean. Ultimately, what this session should do is generate a ranking of those cards on that board. So the high level topics are ZK circuit libraries, the phone book project, oracles and external events. That meaning, well, not external events like shows, but external operations outside of a baseline database. EDI topics, core protocol interfaces, and there are there are several candidates for the three. We'd like to basically zone in on three core protocol improvements or new features or requirements that are in there. Debasing and rebasing records, scaling the baseline work step throughput. I'll go through each of these. Baseline product work cookbook and tokenization methods. Those are the high level ones. Most of these are now embodied in at least a simple, brief master epic in the repo. I'll show you that next. Then core interface priorities. There's standard messaging formatting types, persistence package. Is Kyle on? You got Kyle here?
Yes.
Good. Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, Kyle. So you might take a look at these, and I didn't get a chance before this call to see if there were others. I mean, basically the core interface track should really be going after things that at the interface or the core library level might be missing or insufficient to go production. So, what needs improvement, and then what isn't there that needs to be there or that one would want to have there, depending on what kind of project they might be wanting to do. So it takes a little imagination, but you have to say, well, I want to do cross-border customs, multi-party customs EDI. Well, you certainly need multi-party workflow steps. So you need a multi-step or multi-party work step is one of the tracks. But what other interface priorities do we want to have? The ones we got are ZK circuit improvements. Sam kind of took us through a few. We know that Karthik is working on the generalized ZK circuit, and that's certainly related to the ZK library track, but that one's more about specialized libraries and what those might look like. The iRegistry interface improvement, test failures and bug fixes, just to, kind of, something we should be maybe do some time on. Security review, etc. And then you can suggest other tracks below. So we just threw this together just for us. This isn't for public. This is just for the folks on this call, so that we can get more minds on these topics and hopefully, avoid missing something that was important that we didn't notice, with the working group. So really think while we're going through these about the other things that you might be see missing.
Did you want to show folks how they link to the epics?
Yeah. So let me stop sharing, and I'll go into the roadmap. Any questions about those so far?
I have a quick question.
Sure, Kirk. It's good to see you.
Good to see you. So it might already fit in one of the existing tracks. I'm just not sure where, but looking at an implementation for authentication using decentralized identity.
Yes. So there is, in fact, down here. Where did it go? Yeah. Current baseline stack doesn't support self-sovereign identity yet. I think that's Andreas.
Okay.
And so he has some thoughts about that. That could be cooked up into the phone book master epic. So here's the phone book master epic. Good question, because it allows me to pivot into what I was going to talk about anyways. But keep me honest, make sure that this is salient to what you're asking.
Screen paints are taking a little while on my side. I don't know if any other people are having the same challenge. Just a heads up on that.
Y'all okay?
Yeah, I just, I felt it should show, it would be good to show the prescribed way of doing authentication. That the issue that you had pulled up before, I've also commented on that. There's two EIP paths to go with, one that Uport's using and Energy Web are building DID libraries around. So there's also a decision around which path to take.
Are you guys seeing the right? Are you seeing the phone book stuff, or are you seeing my calendar screen?
We used to see it, and now we don't.
I see John Wolpert has started screen sharing.
Now we see.
Yeah,
You see the phone book?
Yeah,
I see the phone book.
Okay, good. On my second monitor that I'm looking at over here, it just shows my calendar, which I usually have on. Anyway, thanks. Just want to make sure I wasn't giving you my entire itinerary. Okay.
What do you mean by authenticating using the ID? Okay.
Well, that's that. And so, by the way, let's not, there's no way we have enough time to go deep.
Okay.
In fact, that's what the point of the summit is. So I'm going to actually give us a little bit of a chance at the end of this meeting to do a kind of a dry run of this using the breakout rooms in Zoom. So, and we'll only do that if people feel like they want to have 10 minutes to kind of bang out different issues together, but it also give us a sense of the experience. Although we're using something called PicoChat, which will have a much more rich experience and much more, so you can see where everybody is and chat with each other across different Zoom sessions, but it's all using Zoom. So it's going to be high quality video. So it should be really good. We tested, I think most of us, I think there was 5, 6, 7 people on it, and we all really loved it, I think, unless somebody was holding back. So the question is should we pack that concept up into the phone book question? So there's 2 issues on that are embodied in the phone book question. One is the primary one, which is at the company level, how do I find your company? And sort of, if you think of it as your main router or load balancer, right? Yeah, I want to find your highest level endpoint. I want to know what's the front door to your company. That's the phone book, right? And that project is, I think, imagine what we'll be able to do once we have a public phone book up, a repository, a catalog of companies that have baseline, that are available to baseline with. We can, every week we can say 10 more companies are on this, no more companies are on this. So that'll be 1,000 more companies are on this, right? It's a good way of having a real metric rather than vanity metrics at that point. So I'm quite excited about having the phone book, and I call it a phone book because the minute you call it identity, it gets into all sorts of stuff. Right? This is simply a catalog of companies, and then you need to be, if it's a global phone book, you do need to be able to be sure that somebody hasn't put up kind of like a bad website, like a spoof website, that makes you think it's Coca-Cola or General Electric or something, and it's not. So you need to be sure of it, and there are procedures for that, and there are attributes of a phone book that have not been fully designed yet that we need to get done. So that's this project, epic number 133 in the repo. Is anybody having trouble getting to that? Anybody that is having trouble, ping me on Slack, and I'll walk you through it. Sometimes it has given some people trouble. So that's the phone book. Oracles and external events. This epic contains projects involved in the integration of external data which is not coming from a baseline system or record, and events into the baseline workflows. So clearly, Chainlink has a dog in this hunt, and there are others. And this isn't necessarily just oracles. That's why we said oracles and external events. You could have another database, and it's not really oracleized. It's just oracles are particularly important in baselining when the data involved undergoes change at a high frequency, or even change at all, because you don't want a function that's executing on your machine and my machine to get a parameter that is different and then make it impossible for those records to generate a proof of consistency, right? So you have to be able to say this parameter, we're gonna use this authoritative non-changing attribute. Make sense? Attribute parameter, I should say. So that's track number 2. I'm going to go through these, and everybody on the call should be thinking, what, is that my high priority? Is this ringing my bells? Is this something I would want to attend? Would I want to spend 3 hours on this? Because you're going to vote on that in a minute. Third, project description. Oh, sorry, research projects. Yeah, so this isn't actually in the, sorry, this one is a container for research spikes or research projects that we can that may come out of the summit or that we actually want to explore in the summit, but they're going to be the other topics will drive these. So this is, but the nice thing about the nice thing about Zen Hub is and Epics is that you've got a little bit of multiple inheritance. So we can have you can be working on any issue or any other epic, and then add it also as a underneath several other epics. So you can put as we're working on summits and create issues, tasks, stories, other epics, containers of other stuff, and then add it underneath both research projects and the topic you're working on, which is nice. It's a good way of going, oh yeah, okay, we got these research spikes that we're going to have to manage. And also if we went over to zero knowledge circuits, we would see it there as well. So that's just what this is. EDI, Sam, we have several EDI folks on this call as I'm looking. There will be, I don't want to out anybody yet, but there will be an announcement of an EDI demo and release before the summit. Multi-party, I don't know, but I think it's mostly to do with customs. Anybody on that project want to say anything about it? Very briefly.
I'm not sure they're on the call, John.
Oh no, they're not. You're right. I thought I saw Sam. Okay. He was on the earlier call just a minute ago. Yeah. So there's a lot of work around EDI, and so we put this one up. And there will be even more work after that project breaks just before the summit. The next evolution of core interfaces. So this one we broke out, but effectively we want to do a track where we explore, nominally 3 key things, right? Let's prioritize to 3. Then the maintainer team and others will go through those during the summit. User can okay, so rebasing and debasing. This one is really important. I don't know if it deserves a track or if it should be part of other tracks, but we put it up here. If you're an administrator and you change a record that has been baselined with somebody else's system, you've debased the record. How do you get it back? Well, we're going to need a protocol for querying the other counterparty or counterparties. What if everybody's lost it? Well, you're done, and you shouldn't be in business, because if all the counterparties lost their data irrevocably, then that's a bunch of counterparties that don't have good data management practices. But it can happen. Could there be a service for people that somebody could put up to, even a centralized one? That's not something I would be building, but somebody might be interested in that. So rebasing and debasing a record is another one. And it's possible that might evolve into sort of a higher level. This is emblematic of a class of issues. Then there's multi-party work steps. This is key. I don't want to salt the boat here, but if you read this one through, the timeline on this is most work steps are bilateral, but if you want to involve regulators, if you want to involve auditors, and if you want to even get at things like track and trace, you're going to need to be able to include counterparties that are not just the two of you, two companies involved in, say, a purchase order. So it doesn't gate us from getting into POCs and getting, obviously it's not gating the Coke project or any of those, but it is something that needs to be architected. It's currently not possible in the current iteration, but it has always been part of the specification. Questions? Can you guys hear my dog barking?
No dog.
We cannot.
Awesome.
Barely.
It's
Thank you.
barely, it's faint.
Yeah, I took the NVIDIA filter off, and I'm just curious how well my mic is getting things out of the stream. Thank you. And also, I was just stalling to see if anybody had another thought about these. Anything? I'm never comfortable going this long, being the only one talking. So, anything else?
We're going to ask people to go through these and rank them. Do we want to talk about deadlines or ask them to get it done by the end of today? How do you want to handle that, John?
I was sort of thinking we could just do it right here on the call, but yeah, let's just say let's just say you get 2 hours. We're going to adjourn at noon Eastern, so let's say by 2 o'clock Eastern. Okay.
We need
Time
to share
box
the
it.
link to the form.
Yeah, we'll share the form in just 2 seconds. Baseline product cookbook is okay. So this one's an interesting one. The baseline product cookbook is predicated on the notion that if you're a product like any EDI product, Salesforce, obviously SAP, Dynamics, but then any other thing like maybe QuickBooks, you're going to want to be able to deal with the baseline events that occur in elegant ways, and you're going to want user experiences that leverage those attributes. And for example, if you go into the demo that LimeChain did on Google Sheets, that demo actually locks rows that have been baselined so that a user can't easily change them. That's pretty smart. There's a Salesforce plugin that's going in that's going to be released this week, and that has lots of UI elements where you'd want to be, the user's going to want to know, going to need to know what baselining is. They're going to need to know that they can do these things. And so there's a lot of things on the application side that you'd want to have a hand in developing, right? So you're going to want some recipes. Does that make sense to everybody? Anybody have a concern? So that seemed like a good track. This assumes that anybody at the summit will have something to say about that. So baseline cookbook, and then the scaling. This one is also quite interesting, and I know Andreas Freund has a lot on this one. This has to do with techniques in particular. I'll call fancy batching, which is what I call L2 and ZK rollups and all that stuff. So whether it's optimistic or ZK or just batching with mutexes, whatever it is, we kind of want to get the number of baseline work step events that are landed on chain on the mainnet up about two zeros, because then if ETH2, just by the rough math I was doing, if ETH2 comes in with another 2 zeros, then we've got a lot of, you can basically handle all the world's likely baseline events at that point. In a given day, you'd be able to handle anything the world has to throw at you in terms of B2B process automation going out. So, that we figure 2021 isn't going to require all of that, but but we're going to want to see a roadmap towards 2022 where, if I was an enterprise, I would want to know, I'd be like, oh, okay, I'm just doing a little thing right now, but I'm going to want to know that I'm not going to run out of room. And so scaling through the right approaches to L2 and just in terms of batching, a lot of detail in that. is every baseline system its own L2 operator? Is that the way it works? Yeah, so there's a lot in there. Or, is there opportunity for people to create L2 services? Like I've got a ZK rollup server, and I'll charge you less than the mainnet to roll up a bunch of baseline work steps on that, and then I'll land them every day on the mainnet. It'll cost you this much. It sounds like a profitable business opportunity, not one that I'm necessarily going to do, but maybe somebody else will. Maybe many others. So this one's got a lot of juice behind it, and there's a lot to it. So it's almost kind of big. That prompts me to reminds me that the way we have set the summit up, you can create pretty well. You can create different little groups, little breakout sessions on the fly. So if anything isn't here in the middle of the summit, we can create another one pretty quickly. Nick, that's the way I saw it. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, we can add breakout rooms and that kind of stuff on the fly. Should be pretty handy.
Okay. All right. So that's it. Those are the tracks. And now I will hand out the form. There it is. So y'all have 2 hours to do that. So think it through, and try to avoid. We just threw this one up because it's just us. So try to avoid, putting more than one thing in any given column. So I'll share my screen again. If you have, you could do this. Don't do that. Right. But it's possible, sadly, because I couldn't restrict that. Okay, please discuss. Any thoughts? Anything that we're missing?
So, John, can I just quickly ask? I wasn't able to make all of the planning sessions last week, but I know that there were some issues that were touched on in the actual doc, which aren't sort of in the epics now. Is it more that they'd fall under like a subcategory of one of the the broader epics?
Yeah, so I'll go back to that in a second. So what I've done, because there's obviously, this is in a way, the summit is a bit about fall cleaning, right? So there's a lot of stuff in our roadmap. Some of it's getting old. This is normal. I've never ever been on even the best of agile projects, even under a single company, where the repo doesn't get a bit messy and where engineering work is disconnected from high level epics, and I mean, it just kind of happens. And if you go into our roadmap, it's getting a little bit. It's there's still some good stuff in here, but it's clearly not. It's a little messy. There's stuff that needs to get out of there. There's stuff that needs to go in. We need to recommit, as always happens twice a year at best. Need to recommit to the maintenance and love and care and feeding of it. But so what I did, if I can get it to load. Hello, loading. Good. I created Summit and Hackathon. So what we'll do from what we get out of the survey is we'll just stack rank them, right? I'll just go ahead and do that, and then some of these are going to morph during, before and during the summit. And then the phone book is going to kind of mature, or a sub project underneath that, right? So we can create another epic or another issue that rolls up into that phone book, right? And you can just create a new add issues, right? So click add issues, we can create a new issue. So or if you're working on a new issue, you can go into and create a new issue and a new epic. This is how I built all these epics, by the way. And create an epic, go to baseline project template, and I filled the stuff out. And then I also you can add, to phone book. There it is. Zippy-doo-dah, you've got a new epic or a new issue. And of course, epics and issues. Epics are nice. Think of epics as containers because they have multiple inheritance. You can once you have an issue, you can reference other issues, but epics are nice because you can nest them inside each other. So think of an epic as a topic or as a collection, a container that has a collection of other things in it. And think of an issue as sort of the smallest unit that you're going to actually, spec out and do work on and generate tasks for. So that's it. Does that answer your question, Connor? So we'll pull stuff over. We'll just go like that, and we'll pull things over as they become relevant. As we decide, yeah, that's going to be a hackathon challenge. This will have the hackathon challenges that we are going to fund.
Yes. So I think yeah, where I was coming it from was just where we've got, in the planning document, there's a number of items that were in there. And of course, not all of those items are represented. I presume that some of those items would then appear as, as actual issues or tasks associated with the epics.
That's right. And I'm glad you caught that. I'm going to pull that document up. Actually, Nick, you probably have it up, don't you? The planning doc. Oh, there it is.
Yep. You got it?
I've got it. So the planning doc, as well as the spreadsheet, there were several items.
We can be specific. Connor and Juan, Kyle and David were talking about client improvements or, changes we'd like to see in clients to support baselining.
Yep.
Where would that fall in the current list of topics?
The improvements to clients. So, like adding Besu or doing or improvements to things like Nethermind, which way are we?
Yeah,
going
well,
with
Nethermind added a bunch of RPC functionality to their client. We know there's work going on, and for other clients, but there may be other things. Connor, did you want to highlight some of those things that you were thinking of, or?
I mean, certainly the motivation there was, ensuring that there's other clients as well as developer integration libraries for different language platforms being supported there. But I mean, in terms of the summit categories, something like that could appear under research projects. So there's no it's more just the question that would something like that specific item appear, would we bundle it up underneath an epic like the research projects one for the summit?
That's a good point. And you know what? It makes me think that the 2-hour limit that I suggested, let's not do 2 hours. Let's give it to the close of business today, and let's make that whatever your close of business is, whatever time zone you're in. We'll pick this up, Nick, like tomorrow morning early. And that'll give us 24 hours to prep it for the Evite invitation that we want. We'd like to put out the Evite invitation on Wednesday, along with the baseline show at noon on US Eastern. By the way, tune into that one. It's going to be very exciting. Dom and team are going to be showing a Salesforce app exchange offering that will be going up and releasing on that time. Don't tweet about that till then. So
Till after, yeah.
Yeah. I don't mind saying it here. I don't think you mind, but that's going out.
No worries.
Huh? Oh, you there? You done?
Yeah, I'm on.
You're all good?
Yes. Yeah, it's should be going out Wednesday. So we're just kind of ironing out the last couple of things, but yeah, we're looking forward to any feedback anyone has on it. So Mostly would be, like you were saying earlier, UI and application layer, system of engagement layer, kind of things that we've been thinking about for baselining different records. And we've also been working closely with Kyle and the Provide team on, kind of the integrating it to their stack. And so, yeah, we're looking forward to
And
it.
you're gonna do a code don't lie session, right? So we're gonna go into the code a bit.
Yep, exactly. We'll kind of show, here's what's happening on the client side, here's what's happening on the middleware, and then yeah, and we can go through all the different code, different call outs from Salesforce to the middleware, and also kind of how we're showing just, regular controllers and Visualforce pages and all the Salesforce side. Yep.
We were on a call recently with some of the Salesforce folks, and that was exactly what they were hoping to see was people building stuff on the App Exchange. So that's a great signal, and we'll be communicating that. So that's great. So that's on Wednesday. So that would be a great time for, that's what we want to do is put out the Evite. The Evite will say, sign up for these tracks. So we want to have those tracks baked out by Wednesday. So if y'all can, Connor, you had some good thoughts. And also I think I'm showing this right now, or no, I'm not. I'll show you the other things that didn't get into the list, but are here in this spreadsheet that we've been fooling around with. And actually I meant to bring this up. So if you have something like, I want to track on how to integrate with DocuSign, or maybe we can just have a track for doing demos on different kinds of integrations. We could add that track as a, don't want to have more than 7 tracks because nobody will remember more than, it'll just become scary. But we can add things, we can break things out. Nick, what time? How much time did we decided on? I guess we wanted to ask the team here what your perspectives on. Maybe you can put this in chat if you have any thoughts. We still have the latitude to decide the time frame. Initially, we were going to do it just on Friday, but there was a strong signal from at least 1 or 2 people that was not great for some folks, and we want to be respectful of the time zone that creates this endless conversation about time zones. I hate it, but it's always there as long as we live on a spherical planet. So the thought was we could start it. One thought was we could start it in the evening on Thursday night, maybe kick it off with like a virtual happy hour with a plenary. That would be morning time for some folks and evening time for others. But that would be very late for Europe. So problem. We could do it morning time US, that's afternoon Europe, but then it's bad for Asia Pac. So there's lots of thoughts there. But we do need to define the time frame. And now it's basically nominally sometime on Thursday through sometime on Friday. That's the long and the short of it. Does anybody have, this would be a great time for somebody to have some input on like the best way to pull that off. I will be asking Kyle Ellicott, who does a lot of these as well. But anybody have good insights on the best way to pull that off?
John, scheduling is always, an issue. And like right now I'm running into that because I teach people that are literally around the world. You're not going to, there's no such time that works for everybody. However, I have found that, like 9 a.m., even though it's early for the West Coast, is pretty good for Asia and Europe and the East Coast. It's even in Asia, it's not that late. It's, if you're in China, it's, 9 p.m. That's not too terribly bad. Maybe push that a little bit further to 9:30 or 10 Eastern time, and then it's not bad for Europe or Asia, and it's still going to be early for California or the West Coast of the United States. But you can't please everybody. But that seems to work pretty well. Just my poll of students, I get really good attendance around that time.
That's good input. That's what I was fishing for. Anybody else? Okay, I'm mindful of the time. So, Nick, are there other issues that we need to bring up here? I guess Bill, forgive me. Are you ready for your time?
Yeah, John might be ready to present.
Okay, I'm sorry. We've clipped you by 5 minutes. We'll give you another.
We're also we can push this back at the discretion of the baseline community.
I'll tell you what. Let's get the preview at least, and if we need more time, we'll do it. Bottom line is, and Nick, maybe you can send this spreadsheet out to everybody on the call, and make it view only, so that if that gets out, won't have any troubles. But
Okay.
you'll see that there are different things that did kind of try to gobble them up into the list that we have. But that's always something that can be improved on. So more eyes, the better. So take a look at these other things. And I think the most notable signal here is there's a variety of things like, how to do baseline solution with Salesforce, how to do with SAP, how to do it with DocuSign. Should there be a trap for solution architects?
Sorry, John. Let's push our presentation off to another time when we can have a larger block of time. We can't go late today.
Understood. Would you like to preview on it though, so that everybody's excited about it?
We gave a preview a couple months ago. I don't want to be too redundant, so I'll back out of that.
Okay, just for people that are new, what's the topic?
The topic is, how do we when baseline is built on a library that hand waves, this is not production ready, don't build on top of this for production ready capacity. How do we bridge that to production readiness? What is our assessment framework? What is our production readiness framework? How do we approach that? That's the nature of the conversation.
Thank you.
We have associated research, associated data sets, white paper, presentation to be revealed soon, apparently.
Okay. Some good news there is that we have another one of these before the summit, and that ZK session that we track. Bill, this could be something where we could, if you take a look at that track, and if we can add some of your content to that, we might be able to do, dedicate much of that track to that, because that's definitely relevant in that container.
Yeah, and if that's a better forum for the presentation than the weekly meeting or bi-weekly meeting, that's fair game. Whatever the preferred forum is for that presentation, we're there for you.
Oh, let's do both. Let's do the next. We'll push it to the next one. If you want to do a baseline show on this subject, we can do that. We can dedicate the whole time to that. If you want to go, deep dive, and it sounds like there's a ready-made track that can contain this topic. So definitely vote for that one, and then get involved. I know that Andreas is going to be very focused on that one, and several other people. Karthik is probably going to be all over that one. So maybe that's we can. There are a variety of topics in that, but we can. There's going to be a long period of time from Thursday to Friday, so we should be able to get all those topics in.
Great, thanks.
Oh, and if for avoidance of doubt, when I say Thursday and Friday, we're talking about the 12th and the 13th of November. Okay, Nick, have we missed anything logistically people need to know about?
I don't think so. I think we're pretty good. We should have, so when you register for the event, you'll be registering through Eventbrite. The registration on Eventbrite is free, and it just helps us collect stuff and get a common landing page and things like that. And then you will get notified by Quigo Chat that you've got your personal link to the Quigo Chat interface. And as John mentioned earlier, Quigo Chat is simply a facade on top of Zoom. So once you're actually in the breakouts, the interface will be an interface that you're very familiar with. And then you can keep the Quigo Chat page up on a browser, so you can see the breakouts, you can see who's participating in breakouts, you can jump between them. It's actually a very functional utilitarian interface. I think you'll like it. That's about it, John.
Okay. Any questions? Kyle, maintainer team, do you guys have any thoughts on the tracks?
I thought the tracks looked pretty good. Good job, Nick.
John did all the heavy lifting. Thanks, John.
It's not true. I just typed out what everybody else came up with. Thanks for that, Nick. And thanks, Hudson. Yeah, Hudson, I'm glad you're there. If you have thoughts, this would be a great opportunity for the Ethereum community to, if you can rope some folks in and just to give a thought maybe to what else could we be focused on.
Looking it over, it looks pretty good. The agenda topics that we're ranking here, I think it's going to pull in some people that generally wouldn't be as interested in this kind of stuff for two reasons. One, some of it's a little bit more technical than usual, which is kind of refreshing. And then also some of it is very applicable to stuff going on like the Oracle stuff. That's really big right now. There was an Oracle issue that caused a $25 million exploit last night with the Harvest DeFi project. So that's like all over stuff right now is these, how are we doing oracles? How do oracles work and stuff like that. So
yeah,
I'm excited that's on
that
there.
exploit is how I was able to pay for this.
Just kidding, of course.
I am
Nicely
just
done,
kidding. Of course.
Yeah, good work overall. That's all I was going to say.
Okay. Right on. Yeah. So actually there is one last thing in the last 6 minutes here. And that is, how do we get a really terrific crew of folks into this summit? Right. So this is, as Hudson, you said, this is going to be a working summit. And if I wanted to win a hackathon, helping define what the hackathon's going to be about is a good way to do it. So there's a real short of cheating. I'm not talking about cheating. I'm just talking about definitions. I don't think there's anything wrong with putting the work in to define a really good challenge that just happens to be right down the middle of my own skill set. I think that's allowed. And because it benefits the community for somebody to do that. So this is an opportunity to really have a great hackathon. Jimmy, obviously, you've got some terrific Duke students. We've got the UCSB, USB, Berkeley students, Chicago students, Arizona. So it'd be great if we can.
Do you want to try? Do you want to try to bring a lot of students in?
Yes. As a wise person once said, the world turns on postdocs and interns. So.
Well, I mean, Ripple just had University Blockchain Research Initiative, a conference of 40 universities from around the world. And I mean, it was really well attended, and it was all virtual, obviously this year. It was really well attended when it was in person. Those kinds of things. I mean, they take a little while to build up, but reaching out and doing that. I mean, those people are with you forever. And there are a lot of people doing, and that, as I said, that's global. So the people from all over the place, but those tend to, people really tend to glean on to those kinds of things. Could this be one of those kinds of things? Yeah, I think it probably could.
Okay, maybe we can go offline if others are interested in kind of doing a push to engage, entice, and involve students. Let's form up. Go on Slack and
by Wednesday, Thursday at the latest, we should have links to all the pages that you could promote to your your extended communities as well. LinkedIn, Twitter, all of that good stuff.
Yep. It's probably good thinking to, please make sure that your employees and other folks, especially engineers and architects and product folk, designers, and technical writers. Anybody got technical writers out there? Sure could use a few more of those. We've got some great folks in here, but communication is key. Oh, and by the way, quick PSA, Anais, your next the next standards team meeting is this Thursday?
No, next. So actually, it's supposed to be the day of the hackathon. Sorry, of the summit. My bad. So we had one last week, right? And we do every 2 weeks.
Okay, so next week that'll miss that.
Oh, sorry, it's the 5th. Yep.
Yeah, the 5th. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So everybody put mark your calendars if you're into that. Very, very good work going on there. Anais, didn't we get to a really nice milestone, right?
Yes. So last week, we completed the review of all of the standard one, which is the core specification. So defining all the requirement categories for each of those components and reviewing all the high-level requirement brainstorm ideas that the team had come up with. So in 2 weeks' time, we'll be focusing a bit more on the API side of things. But I invite everybody to check the baseline roadmap repo, because we are keeping those up to date. So you will be able to see what was discussed. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to any of us and we'll help. One thing as well, the .md for the different documents, so standard document, are now available on the baseline repo as well. So you'll be able to see the very first drafts of those.
That's really, really good. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. So, one last thing. We do have, I'm writing a piece on incentives and funding of work in open source, openly governed open source communities. I'm writing this paper for OASIS and for EEA's benefit to figure out the rules and regulations and best practices for somebody that just simply wants to fund the work. We have sponsorships. We're actually doing quite well in the lots of companies are sponsoring OASIS, the Ethereum OASIS project. There's even a new sister project in the advertising space that was prompted by Baseline. That's adding up. So that's covering the overheads of OASIS's terrific work for us. Then the question is, once we hit a certain level, or we could literally be putting donate on our YouTube videos, like NPR does or PBS. But what would that mean? How would we manage it? How would we distribute the projects? How would we distribute the money? Do we do it all through something like Gitcoin? Well, is that self-serve? Is that self-dealing to somebody? So I'm kind of writing out all the hazards and opportunities involved in creating both monetary and non-monetary incentives for participation, especially in the stuff that isn't glitzy and exciting, that helps with your career, right? That's usually the core of open source work is, hey, I can make a name for myself here, but something that isn't going to distinguish you, but needs to get done. How does the community pay you back, or at least show you appreciation in some material way? Writing that paper, if anybody has thoughts on that, please reach out to me. And with that, I'll just give one last pause to see if anybody has a last thought.
Good stuff, John.
Yeah, it's exciting. I'm really excited about this summit.
It'll be good.
Okay. Yeah, go find recruits for this summit, everybody. Go.
Thanks,
Jimmy,
everyone.
I'll reach out to you. Thanks, Nick. Thanks, everybody. Cheers.
Yes.
Cheers.
Good.